Good morning, class. Today is day 166, and we will be reading. I know it says, so I'll tell you quickly what chapters we'll be reading. Chapters 54 through 65. So again, I'll link the video here, right here. If you want to make it bigger, you just will click on the link that's right here. So if you need to exit out of this, click on this link. Again, remember you write your name in here. Remember to write your whole name so that I know who it is. And then also remember you clicked your homeroom. Then you can press next. All right, so this week will be our last week doing videos to read this book. So we are going to be finishing up by the end of this week. In the story, there are several different narrators, so there are several different point of views. So you'll see this a lot. We'll be talking about this in the beginning of our class, in the beginning of our video, several times this week. And by the end of the week, you're going to have to do this part totally on your own. So make sure you're paying close attention to how I'm figuring out if it's in first person or third person, and then who the narrator is. Today is going to be a little bit of a lengthy reading, but there's not a ton of but the chapters are pretty short. So you'll notice there are more chapters, but they're a little bit shorter. So today, let's get started. We are on part 4. Now, here's my secret. It is very simple. It is only with one's heart that one can see clearly. What is essential is invisible to the eye. Antoine de Saint-Exupéry, The Little Prince. The Call. So in August, my parents got this call from Mr. Tushman, the middle school director. And my mom said, maybe he calls all the new students to welcome them. And then my dad said, that's a lot of kids he'd be calling. So my mom called him back, and I could hear her talking to Mr. Tushman on the phone. This is exactly what she said. Oh, hi, Mr. Tushman. This is Amanda Will returning your call. Pause. Oh, thank you. That's so nice of you to say. He's looking forward to it. Pause. Yes. Pause. Oh, sure. Long pause. Oh, uh-huh. Pause. Well, that's so nice of you to say. Pause. Sure. Oh, wow. Oh. Super long pause. I see. Of course. I'm sure he will. Let me write it down. Got it. I'll call you after I've had a chance to talk with him, okay? Pause. No, thank you for thinking of him. Bye-bye. And when she hung up, I was like, what's up? What did he say? And Mom said, well, it's actually very flattering, but kind of sad too. So there's this boy who's starting middle school this year, and he's never been in a real school environment before because he was homeschooled. So Mr. Tushman talked to some of the lower school teachers to find out who they thought were some really, really great kids coming into 5th grade. And the teachers must have told them that you were a especially nice kid, which I already knew, of course. And so Mr. Tushman is wondering if he could count on you to sort of shepherd this new boy around a bit. Like, let him hang out with me? I said. Exactly, said Mom. He called it being a welcome buddy. But why me? I told you, your teachers told Mr. Tushman that you were the kind of kid who's known for being a good egg. I mean, I'm so proud that they think so highly of you. Why is it sad? What do you mean? You said it's flattering, but kind of sad too. Oh, Mom nodded. Well, apparently this boy has some sort of, I guess there's something wrong with his face. Or something like that. Not sure. Maybe he was in an accident. Mr. Tushman said he'd explain more when you come to the school next week. School doesn't start until September. He wants you to meet the kid before school starts. Do I have to? Mom looked a bit surprised. Well, no, of course not, she said. But it would be a nice thing to do, Jack. If I don't have to do it, I said, I don't want to do it. Can you at least think about it? I'm thinking about it and I don't want to do it. Well, I'm not going to force you, she said. But at least think about it some more, okay? I'm not calling Mr. Tushman back until tomorrow. So just sit with it a bit. I mean, Jack, I really don't think it's that much to ask for that you spend a little extra time with some new kid. It's not just that he's new kid, Mom, I answered. He's deformed. That's a terrible thing to say, Jack. He is, Mom. You don't even know who it is. Yeah, I do, I said, because I knew the second that she started talking about him that it was that kid named August. So pause for a minute. So we're going to look at this chapter. So we know that his parents got a call from Mr. Tushman to direct them. So the narrator is a person in the story whose parents got a call from Mr. Tushman to meet up with Augie. So the three people that got that call were Jack Will, Charlotte, and Julian. Now, we also know that on the phone call, his mom said, "This is Amanda Will." So if it's Amanda Will, then the person whose mom it is Jack Will's mom. So that means our narrator must be Jack Will. I also noticed in here it said, "And when she hung up, I was like." So the person who's talking is this I. I was like, "What's up? What did he say?" And mom said, and then I said again. So we know it's in first person because there's all these different I's. I said, I knew. So I already know that it's for sure. I already know that it's for sure in first person. So I'm going to click that because I went through and I looked at the keywords I, me, us. I looked at the pronouns I, right? So I identified that it's in first person. Now I need to figure out who it is. So I already said his mom is Jack Will. Then I noticed down here that his mom called him Jack. I just have to find it. I mean, Jack, I really don't think it's that much. I don't think it's much to ask that you spend a little extra time with this new kid. So his mom calls him Jack. So I know that the person who's telling the story is Jack Will. All right, so now I'm going to press next. Now, as we continue reading, we're going to be looking for character motivation. So we know Jack is our narrator. So as we're reading, we're looking for Jack's motivation. Steps to find character motivation. Identify what the character said or did in the story. Ask yourself, why did the character do that? Think about, how did this help the character? And then find your evidence to support your claim. So that's the steps we're going to be taking as we read. And you'll notice that today you're actually going to be finding your own evidence. Now, I'll help you with it in the beginning, so make sure you pay close attention. Let's move on to the next chapter. Carvel. I remember seeing him for the first time in front of the Carvel on Amherst Avenue when I was about 5 or 6. Me and Veronica, my babysitter, were sitting on the bench outside the store with Jamie, my baby brother, who was sitting in a stroller facing us. I guess I was busy eating my ice cream cone because I didn't even notice that people sat down next to us. Then, at one point, I turned my head to suck the ice cream out of the bottom of the cone, and that's when I saw him. August. He was sitting right next to me. I know it wasn't cool, but I kind of went, when I saw him because I honestly got scared. I thought he was wearing a zombie mask or something. It was the kind of you say when you're watching a scary movie and the bad guy like jumps out of the bushes. Anyway, I know it wasn't nice of me to do that. And though the kid didn't hear me, I know his sister did. "Jack, we have to go," said Veronica. She had gotten up and was turning the stroller around because Jamie, who had obviously just noticed the kid too, was about to say something embarrassing. So I jumped up and kind of suddenly, like a bee had landed on me, and followed Veronica as she zoomed away. I could hear the kid's mom saying softly behind us, "Okay, guys, I think it's time to go." And I turned around to look at them one more time. The kid was licking his ice cream cone, the mom was picking up his scooter, and the sister was glaring at me like she was going to kill me. I looked away quickly. "Veronica, what was wrong with that kid?" I whispered. "Hush, boy," she said, her voice angry. I love Veronica, but when she got mad, she got mad. Meanwhile, Jamie was practically spilling out of his stroller, trying to another look, as Veronica pushed him away. "But Veronica," said Jamie. "You boys were very naughty," said Veronica as soon as we were farther down the block. "Staring like that." "I didn't mean to," I said. "Veronica," said Jamie. "Us leaving like that," Veronica was muttering. "Oh, Lord, that poor lady, I tell you, boys. Every day we should thank the Lord for our blessings. You hear me?" "Veronica." "What is it, Jamie?" "Is it Halloween?" "No, Jamie." "Then why was that boy wearing a mask?" Veronica didn't answer. Sometimes when she was mad about something, she would do that. "He wasn't wearing a mask," I explained to Jamie. "Hush, Jack," said Veronica. "Why are you so mad, Veronica?" I couldn't help asking. I thought this would make her angrier, but she just shook her head. It was bad how we did that, she said. Just getting up like that, like we'd seen the devil. I was scared for what Jamie was going to say, you know. I didn't want him to say anything that would hurt the little boy's feelings. But it was very bad, us leaving like that. The mama knew what was going on. But we didn't mean it, I answered. Jack, sometimes you don't have to mean to hurt someone to hurt someone. You understand? That was the first time I ever saw August in the neighborhood, at least that I remember, but I've seen him around ever since then. A couple of times in the playground, a few times in the park. He used to wear an astronaut helmet sometimes, but I always knew it was him underneath the helmet. All the kids in the neighborhood knew it was him. Everyone has seen August at some point or another. We all know his name, though he doesn't know ours. And whenever I see him, I try to remember what Veronica said. But it's hard. It's hard not to sneak a second look. It's hard to act normal when you see him. Why I changed my mind. Who else did Mr. Tushman call? I asked my mom later that night. Did he tell you? He mentioned Julian and Charlotte. Julian? I said. Ugh, why Julian? You used to be friends with Julian. Mom, that was like kindergarten. Julian's the biggest phony there is, and he's trying so hard to be popular all the time. Well, said Mom, at least Julian agreed to help this kid out. Gotta give him credit for that. I didn't say anything because she was right. What about Charlotte? I asked. Is she doing it? Yes, Mom said. Of course she is. Charlotte's such a goody two shoes, I answered. Boy, Jack, said Mom, you seem to have a problem with everybody these days. It's just, I started. Mom, you have no idea what this kid looks like. I can imagine. No, you can't. You've never seen him. I have. It might not even be who you're thinking it is. Trust me, it is. And I'm telling you, it's really, really bad. He's deformed, Mom. His eyes are like down here. I pointed to my cheeks. And he has no ears, and his mouth is like. Jamie walked into the kitchen to get a juice box from their fridge. Ask Jamie, I said. Right, Jamie? Remember that kid we saw in the park after school last year? The kid named August, the one with the face? Oh, that kid? Said Jamie, his eyes opening wide. He gave me a nightmare. Remember, Mommy? The nightmare about the zombies from last year? I thought that was from watching a scary movie, answered Mom. No, said Jamie. It was from seeing that kid. When I saw him, I was like, ah, and I ran away. Wait a minute, said Mom, getting serious. Did you do that in front of him? I couldn't help it, said Jamie, kind of whining. Of course you could help it, Mom scolded. Guys, I have to tell you, I'm really disappointed by what I'm hearing. And she looked how she sounded. I mean, honestly, he's just a little boy, just like you. Can you imagine how he felt to see you running away from him, Jamie? Screaming? It wasn't a scream, Jamie argued. It was like, ah, and he put his hands on his cheeks and started running around the kitchen. Come on, Jamie, said Mom angrily. I honestly thought both of my boys were more sympathetic than that. What's sympathetic? Said Jamie, who was only going into the second grade. You know exactly what I mean by sympathetic, Jamie, said Mom. It's just, he's so ugly, Mommy, said Jamie. Hey, Mom said. I don't like that word. Jamie, just get your juice box. I want to talk to Jack alone for a second. Look, Jack, said Mom as soon as he left, and I knew she was about to give me a whole speech. Okay, I'll do it, I said, which I completely shocked her. You will? Yes. So, I can call Mr. Tushman? Yes, Mom. Yes, I said yes. Mom smiled. I knew you'd rise to the occasion, kiddo. Good for you. I'm proud of you, Jackie. She messed up my hair. So, here's why I changed my mind. It wasn't so I would have to hear Mom give me a whole lecture, and it wasn't to protect this August kid from Julian, who I knew was going to be a jerk about the whole thing. It was because when I heard Jamie talking about how he had run away from August, going, ah, I suddenly felt really bad. The thing is, there are always going to be kids like Julian who are jerks. But if a little kid, like Jamie, who's usually a nice enough kid, can be that mean, then a kid like August doesn't stand a chance in middle school. So this is where we're going to go through our example. So the question is character motivation. Why? Why did Jack Will decide to show August around the middle school? So he just told us in the text right here, so I'm going to highlight it. Because he says, so here's why I changed my mind. So why did he do it? Because he wanted to keep him safe from Julian. He did talk about Julian and how Julian would be a jerk to him. He wanted to earn extra credit from Mr. Tushman. Definitely not. He didn't say anything about that. He felt bad that nice kids might be scared of him. That could definitely be it because he was talking about how his little brother was a nice kid who was scared of him. He wanted to make his mom happy. No, he said that wasn't why. So if you look down here, what does it say? And it wasn't to protect August from Julian. So it wasn't A, who I knew would be a jerk. It was because when I heard Jamie talking about how he had run away from August going, I suddenly felt bad. The thing is, there's always going to be kids like Julian who are jerks. But if a little kid like Jamie, who's usually a nice enough kid, can be that mean, then a kid like August won't stand a chance. So here's our evidence right here. So he did it because there's kids like his little brother who's nice is being mean. So then a lot of kids are going to be mean if the nice kids are mean. So he felt bad because the nice kids might be scared of him. So then in the text, this is what I'll write. In the text, it says, and my evidence is right here. But if a little kid like Jamie, who's usually a nice enough kid, can be that mean, then a kid like August doesn't stand a chance in middle school. And I made sure I started with in the text it says, and I ended it with my quotation marks. Now for this one, you guys can copy down exactly what I have here, and you should. This should be your answer for this one. This is Mrs. Falby's turn. You are just typing in exactly what I already have there for you. The next one, you're going to do on your own. So as we're going to continue reading, this is the next one you're going to answer by yourself. So let's keep going and see what happens. 4 things. First of all, you do get used to his face. The first couple of times I was like, whoa, I'm never going to get used to this. And then after about a week, I was like, it's not so bad. Second of all, he's actually a really cool dude. I mean, he's pretty funny. Like the teacher will say something and August will whisper something funny to me that no one else hears and totally make me crack up. He's also just overall a nice kid. He's easy to hang out with and talk to and stuff. Third of all, he's really smart. I thought he'd be behind everyone because he hadn't gone to school before. But in most things, he's way ahead of me. I mean, maybe not as smart as Charlotte or Exmina, but he's up there. And unlike Charlotte and Exmina, he lets me cheat off of him if I really need to, though I've only needed to a couple of times. He also let me copy his homework once, though we both got in trouble for that after class. The 2 of you got the exact same answers wrong on yesterday's homework, Miss Rubin said, looking at both of us like she was waiting for an explanation. I didn't know what to say because the explanation would have been, oh, that's because I copied August's homework. But August lied to protect me. He was like, oh, that's because we did our homework together last night, which wasn't true at all. Well, doing homework together is a good thing, Miss Rubin answered, but you're supposed to still do it separately, okay? You could work side by side if you want, but you can't actually do your homework together, okay? Got it? And we left the classroom. I said, dude, thanks for doing that. And he was like, no problem. That was cool. Fourthly, now that I know him, I would say I actually do want to be friends with August. At first, I admit it, I was only friendly to him because Mr. Tushman asked me to be especially nice and all that. But now I would choose to hang out with him. He laughs at all my jokes, and I kind of feel like I can tell August anything. Like, he's a good friend. Like, if all the guys in the 5th grade were lined up against the wall and I got to choose anyone I wanted to be hanging out with, I would choose August. Ex-friends. Bleeding scream. What the heck? Summer Dawson has always been a bit out there, but this was too much. All I did was ask her why August was acting like he was mad at me or something. I figured she would know. And all she said was bleeding scream. I don't even know what that means. It's so weird because one day me and August were friends, and the next day, whoosh, he was hardly talking to me. And I haven't had the slightest idea why. When I said to him, hey August, are you mad at me or something? He shrugged and walked away. So I would take that as a definite yes. And since I know for a fact that I didn't do anything to him to be mad about, I figured Summer could tell me what's up. But all I got from her was bleeding scream. Yeah, big help. Thanks, Summer. I've got plenty of other friends in school. So if August wants to officially be my ex-friend, then fine. That's okay by me. See if I care. I've started ignoring him like he's ignoring me in school now. This is actually kind of hard because we sit next to each other in practically every class. Pause. Do we remember why August is mad at him? Because we already know from earlier parts of the story. So remember when August dressed up as Bleeding Scream? He heard Jack Will talking about him, saying a lot of mean things. And since it was Halloween, Jack didn't see him because he thought he was coming as Boba Fett. So let's see if Jack Will can figure out why he's mad at him. Other kids have noticed that and started asking me and August had a fight. Nobody asks August what's going on. Hardly anyone even ever talks to him anyway. I mean, the only person he hangs out with, other than me, is Summer. Sometimes he hangs out with Reed Kinsley a little bit, and the two Maxes got him playing Dungeons and Dragons a couple of times at recess. Charlotte, for all her goody two-shoeing, doesn't ever do more than nod hello when she's passing him in the hallway. And I don't know if everyone's still playing the plague behind his back because no one ever really told me about it directly. But my point is, it's not like he has a whole lot of other friends that he could be hanging out with instead of me. If he wants to diss me, he's the one who loses, not me. So this is how things are between us now. We only talk to each other about school stuff if we absolutely have to. Like I'll say, what did Ruben say the homework was? And he'll answer, or he'll be like, can I use your pencil sharpener? And I'll give my pencil sharpener out of my pencil case for him. But as soon as the bell rings, we go our separate ways. Why this is good is because I get to hang out with a lot more kids now. Before, when I was hanging out with August all the time, kids weren't hanging out with me because they'd have to hang out with him. Or they would keep things from me, like the whole thing about the plague. I think I was the only one who wasn't in on it, except for Summer and maybe the D&D crowd. And the truth is, though, nobody's that obvious about it. Nobody wants to hang out with him. Everyone's way too hung up on being in the popular group, and he's just as far away from the popular group as you can get. But now I can hang out with anyone I want. If I wanted to be in the popular group, I could totally be in the popular group. Why this is bad? Well, A, I don't actually enjoy hanging out with the popular group that much, and B, I actually liked hanging out with August. So this is kind of messed up, and it's all August's fault. Do you agree with him? Is it August's fault? I don't think it's August's fault, but Jack doesn't know that yet. So let's see if he figures it out. Snow. The first snow of winter hit right before Thanksgiving. School was closed, so we got an extra day of vacation. I was glad about that because I was so bummed about this whole August thing, and I just wanted some time to chill without having to see him every day. Also, waking up for a snow day is about my favorite thing in the world. I love that feeling when you first open your eyes in the middle or in the morning and you don't even know why everything seems different than usual. Then it hits you. Everything is quiet. No cars honking, no buses going down the street. Then you run over to the window and outside and everything is covered in white. The sidewalks, the trees, the cars on your street, your window panes. And when that happens on a school day and you find out your school is closed, well, I don't care how old I get, I'm always going to think that's the best feeling in the world. And I'm never going to be one of those grown-ups that uses an umbrella when it's snowing. Ever. Dad's school was closed too, so he took me and Jamie sledding down Skeleton Hill in the park. They say a little kid broke his neck while sledding down that hill a few years ago, but I don't know if that's actually true or if that's just one of those legends. On the way home, I spotted this banged-up wooden sled, kind of propped up against the old Indian rock monument. Dad said to leave it. It was just garbage. But something told me that it would make the greatest sled ever. So Dad let me drag it home. And I spent the rest of the day fixing it up. I superglued the broken slates together and wrapped some heavy-duty white duct tape around them for extra strength. Then I spray painted the whole thing with white paint that I had gotten for the Alabaster Sphinx that I was making for the Egyptian Museum project. When it was all dry, I painted lightning in gold letters on a metal piece of wood, and I made a little lightning bolt symbol above the letters. It looked pretty professional, I have to say. Dad was like, "Wow, Jackie, you were right about that sled." The next day, we went to Skeleton Hill with Lightning. It was the fastest thing I've ever ridden. So much faster than the plastic sleds we'd been using. And because it had gotten warmer outside, the snow had become crunchier and wetter. Good packing snow. Me and Jamie took turns on the Lightning all afternoon. We were in the park until our fingers were frozen and our lips turned little blue. Dad practically had to drag us home. By the end of the weekend, the snow had started turning gray and yellow, and then a rainstorm turned most of the snow to slush. We got back to school on Monday, and there was no snow left. It was rainy and yucky the first day back from vacation, a slushy day, and that's how I was feeling inside too. I nodded, "Hey," to August the first time I saw him. We were in front of the lockers. He nodded, "Hey," back. I wanted to tell him about lightning, but I didn't. Fortune favors the bold. Mr. Brown's December precept was, "Fortune favors the bold." We were all supposed to write a paragraph about some time in our lives when we did something very brave, and how, because of it, something good happened to us. I thought about this a lot. To be truthful, I have to say I think the bravest thing I ever did was becoming friends with August. But I couldn't write that, of course. I was afraid we'd have to read these out loud, or Mr. Brown would put them up on the bulletin board like he does sometimes. So instead, I wrote this lame thing about how I used to be afraid of the ocean when I was little. It was dumb, but I couldn't think of anything else. I wonder what August wrote about. He probably had a lot of things to choose from. Private school. My parents are not rich. I say this because people sometimes think that everyone who goes to a private school is rich. But that isn't true. With us, dad's a teacher and mom's a social worker, which means they don't have those kinds of jobs where people make gazillions of dollars. We used to have a car, but we sold it when Jamie started kindergarten at Beecher Prep. We don't live in a big townhouse or in one of those doorman buildings along the park. We live on the top floor of a 5-story walk up we rent from an old lady named Donna Petra, all the way on the other side of Broadway. That's code for the section of North River Heights where people don't want to park their cars. Me and Jamie share a room. Overhear my parents talk about things. Can we do without an air conditioner one more year? Or maybe I can work 2 jobs this summer. So today at recess, I was hanging out with Julian and Henry and Miles. Julian, who everyone knows is rich, was like, "I hate having to go back to Paris this summer. It's so boring." "Dude, but it's like Paris," I said like an idiot. "Believe me, it's so boring," he said. "My grandmother lives in this house in the middle of nowhere. It's like an hour away from Paris in this tiny, tiny village. I swear to God, nothing happens there. I mean, it's like, oh wow, there's another fly on the wall. Look, there's a new dog sleeping on the sidewalk. Yippee." I laughed. Sometimes Julian could be funny. Though my parents are talking about throwing a big party this year instead of going to Paris. I hope so. "What are you doing over break?" said Julian. Just hanging out," I said. "You're so lucky," he said. "I hope it snows again," I answered. "I got this new sled and it's so amazing." I was about to tell them about lightning, but Miles started talking first. "I got a new sled too," he said. "My dad got it from Hamasher Schlemer. It's state of the art." "How could a sled be state of the art?" said Julian. "It was like $800 or something." "Whoa." "We should all go sledding and have a race down Skeleton Hill," I said. "That hill is so lame," answered Julian. "Are you kidding?" I said. "Some kid broke his neck there. That's why it's called Skeleton Hill." Julian narrowed his eyes and looked at me like I was the biggest moron in the world. "It's called Skeleton Hill because it was an ancient Indian burial ground. Duh," he said. "Anyway, it should be called Garbage Hill now. It's so freaking junky. Last time I was there, it was so gross, like with soda cans and broken bottles and stuff." He shook his head. "I left my old sled there," said Miles. "It was the scrappiest piece of junk, and someone took it, too." "Maybe a hobo wanted to go sledding," laughed Julian. "Where did you leave it?" I said. "By the rock at the bottom of the hill. And when I got back the next day, it was gone. I couldn't believe someone actually took it." "Here's what we can do," said Julian. "Next time it snows, my dad can drive us all up to this golf course in Westchester that makes Skeleton Hill look like nothing." "Hey, Jack, where are you going?" I had started to walk away. I've got to get a book out of my locker," I lied. I just wanted to get away from them fast. I didn't want anyone to know that I was the hobo who had taken the sled. In science. I'm not the greatest student in the whole world. I know some people actually like school, but I honestly can't say I do. I like some parts of school, like PE and computer class and lunch and recess, but all in all, I'd be fine without school. And the thing I hate the most about school is all the homework we get. It's not enough that we have to sit through class after class and try to stay awake while they fill our heads with all this stuff that we will probably never need to know. Like how to figure out the surface area of a cube or what was the difference between kinetic and potential energy. I'm like, who cares? I've never heard my parents say the word kinetic in my entire life. I hate science the most out of all my classes. We get so much work and it's not even funny. And the teacher, Miss Rubin, is so strict about everything, even the way we write our headings at the top of our papers. I once got 2 points off my homework assignment because I didn't put the date at the top. Crazy stuff. When me and August were still friends, I was doing okay in science because August sat next to me and always let me copy his notes. August has the neatest handwriting of anybody I've ever seen who's a boy. Even his script is neat, up and down perfectly, with really small, round, loopy letters. But now that we're ex-friends, it's bad because I can't even ask him to let me copy his notes anymore. So I was kind of scrambling today, trying to take notes about what Miss Rubin was saying. My handwriting is awful. And then all of a sudden, she started talking about the fifth grade science fair project, how we all had to choose a science project to work on. While she was saying this, I was thinking we just finished the Egypt project. Now we have to start a whole new thing? And then in my head, I was like, oh no, like that kid in Home Alone with his mouth hanging open and his hands on his face. That was the face I was making on the inside. And then I thought of those pictures of melting ghost faces I've seen somewhere, where the mouths open wide and they're screaming. And then all of a sudden, this picture flew into my head, this memory. And I knew what Summer had meant by bleeding scream. It's so weird how it all just came to me in this flash. Someone in homeroom had dressed up in a bleeding scream costume on Halloween. I remember seeing him a few desks away from me, and then I remember not seeing him. Oh man, it was August. All of this hit me in science class while the teacher was talking. Oh man, I'd been talking to Julian about August. Oh man, now I understood. I was so mean. I don't even know why. I'm not even sure what I said, but it was bad. It was only a minute or two. It's just that I knew Julian and everybody thought I was so weird for hanging out with August all the time. And I felt stupid. And I don't know why I said that stuff. I was just going along. I was stupid. I am stupid. Oh God. He was supposed to come as Boba Fett. I never would have said that stuff in front of Boba Fett. But that was him. That bleeding scream sitting at the desk looking over at us. The long white mask with the fake squirting blood, the mouth open wide, like the ghoul was crying. That was him. I felt like I was going to puke. Partners. So now we know he figured it out. I didn't hear a word of what Miss Rubin was saying after that. Blah, 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 blah. Science fair project. Blah, blah, blah. Partners. Blah, blah. It was like the way grown-ups talk in Charlie Brown movies. Like someone talking underwater. Mwah, 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 mwah. Then, all of a sudden, Miss Rubin started pointing kids around the room, around the class. Reed and Tristan, Maya and Max, Charlotte and Exema, August and Jack. And she pointed to us when she said this. Miles and Amos, Julian and Henry, Savannah and... I didn't hear the rest. Huh? I said. The bell rang. So don't forget to get together with your partners to choose the project from the list, guys, said Miss Rubin. As everyone started taking off, I looked up at August, and he had already put his backpack on and was practically out the door. I must have had a stupid look on my face because Julian came over and said, "Looks like you and your best bud are partners." He was smirking when he said this. I hated him so much right then. "Hello, Earth to Jack Will," he said when I didn't answer him. Shut up, Julian. I was putting my loose leaf binder away in my backpack and just wanted him away from me. "You must be so bummed you got stuck with him," he said. "You should tell Miss Rubin you want to switch partners. I bet she'd let you." "No, she wouldn't," I said. "Ask her." "No, I don't want to." "Miss Rubin," Julian said, turning around and raising his hand at the same time. Miss Rubin was erasing the chalkboard at the front of the room. She turned when she heard her name. "No, Julian," I screamed. "What is it, boys?" she said impatiently. "Could we switch partners if we wanted to?" said Julian, looking very innocent. "Me and Jack had this science fair project idea we wanted to work on together." "Well, I guess we could arrange that," she started to say. "No, it's okay, Miss Rubin," I said quickly, heading out the door. "Bye." Julian ran after me. "Why'd you do that?" he said, catching up to me on the stairs. "We could have been partners. You don't have to be friends with that freak if you don't want to be, you know." And that's when I punched him right in the mouth. Detention. Some things you just can't explain. You don't even want to try. And you don't even know where to start. All your sentences would jumble up like a giant knot if you opened your mouth. Any words that you used would come out wrong. Jack, this is very serious, Mr. Tushman was saying. I was in his office, sitting on the chair across from the desk and looking at the picture of this pumpkin on the wall behind him. Kids get expelled for this kind of thing, Jack. I know you're a good kid, and I don't want that to happen, but you have to explain yourself. This is not like you, Jack, said Mom. She had come from work as soon as they called her. I could tell she was going back and forth, being really mad and really surprised. I thought you and Julian were friends, said Mr. Tushman. We're not friends, I said, my arms crossed in front of me. But to punch someone in the mouth, Jack, said Mom, raising her voice. I mean, what were you thinking? She looked at Mr. Tushman. Honestly, he's never hit anyone before. He's just not like that. Julian's mouth was bleeding, Jack, said Mr. Tushman. You knocked out a tooth. Did you know that? It was just a baby tooth, I said. Jack, said Mom, shaking her head. That's what the nurse Molly said. You're missing the point, Mom yelled. I just want to know why, said Mr. Tushman, raising his shoulders. It'll just make everything worse, I sighed. Just tell me, Jack. I shrugged, but I didn't say anything. I just couldn't. If I told him that Julian had called August a freak, then he'd go and talk to Julian about it. And then Julian would tell him how I had badmouthed August too, and everybody would find out about it. Jack, said Mom. I started to cry. I'm sorry. Mr. Tushman raised his eyebrows and nodded, but he didn't say anything. Instead, he kind of blew into his hands like you do when your hands are cold. Jack, he said, I don't really know what to say here. I mean, you punched a kid. We have rules about that kind of thing, you know? Automatic expulsion. And you're not even trying to explain yourself. I was crying a lot by then. And the second Mom put her arms around me, I started to bawl. Let's, said Mr. Tushman, taking off his glasses to clean them. Let's do this, Jack. We're out for winter break as of next week anyway. How about you stay home from work the rest of this week, or stay home from school the rest of this week, and after winter break, you'll come back and everything will be fresh and brand new. Clean slate, so to speak. Am I being suspended? I sniffled. Well, he said, shrugging. Technically, yes, but it's only for a couple of days. And I'll tell you what, while you're at home, you take time off to think about what's happened. And if you want to write me a letter explaining what happened and a letter to Julian apologizing, then we won't even put any of this on your permanent record, okay? You go home and talk with your mom and dad, and maybe in the morning you'll figure it all out a bit more. That sounds like a good plan, Mr. Tushman, said Mom, nodding. Thank you. Everything is going to be okay, said Mr. Tushman, walking over to the door, which was closed. I know you're a nice kid, Jack, and I know sometimes even nice kids do dumb things, right? He opened the door. Thank you for being so understanding, said Mom, shaking his hand at the door. No problem. He leaned over and told her something quietly that I couldn't hear. I know. Thank you, said Mom, nodding. So, kiddo, he said to me, putting his hand on my shoulders, think about what you've done, okay? And have a great holiday. Happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, Happy Kwanzaa. I wiped my nose on my sleeve and started walking out the door. Say thank you to Mr. Tushman, said Mom, tapping my shoulder. I stopped and turned around, but I couldn't look at him. Thank you, Mr. Tushman, I said. Bye, Jack, he answered. Then I walked out the door. Last chapter. Season's greetings. Weirdly enough, when we got back home, Mom brought in the mail, and there were holiday cards from both Julian's family and August's family. Julian's card was a picture of Julian wearing a tie, looking like he was about to go to the opera or something. August's holiday card was a cute old dog wearing reindeer antlers, a red nose, and red booties. There was a cartoon bubble above the dog's head that read, Ho, ho, ho. On the inside of the card, it read, To the Will family, peace on earth. Love Nate, Isabel, Olivia, August, and Daisy. Cute card, huh? I said to Mom, who had hardly said a word to me the whole way home. I think she, honestly, just didn't know what to say. That must be their dog, I said. Do you want to tell me what's going on inside of your head, Jack? She answered me seriously. I bet you they put a picture of their dog on the card every year, I said. She took the card out of my hands and looked at the picture carefully. Then she raised her eyebrows and her shoulders and gave me back the card. We're very lucky, Jack. There's so much we take for granted. I know, I said. I knew what she was talking about without her having to say it. I heard that Julian's mom actually photoshopped August's face out of the class picture when she got it. She gave a copy to a couple of the other moms. That is just awful, said Mom. People are just, they're not always so great. I know. Is that why you hit Julian? No. And then I told her why I punched Julian. And I told her that August was my ex-friend now, and I told her about Halloween. All right, that was a lot of reading today, so let's get to the next part. Why did Jack Will get in a fight with Julian? You're going to choose what motivated him to fight him, and then find your evidence to support it. Have a great day, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.